Howdy, y'all. Paulo Hernandez here. So today, because of all the recent events that have happened with Tim Kennedy, I wanted to talk about an epidemic that I think plagues the veteran community: stolen valor and why vets lie. Look, I'm not a psychologist or any kind of medical professional, but I am a Marine with multiple combat deployments. So this is all opinion based off of what I've seen and what I've heard in the vet community. Also, I'm talking about why vets commit stolen valor, not civilians. I'm sure there's a lot of overlap, but that's an entirely different conversation. And again, I'm by no means an expert on the topic. This is just my 2 cents. So here's a little bit about myself, my background. I'm a former Recon Marine with multiple combat deployments to Iraq. I went to Afghanistan as a contractor, but just to be upfront, as a Recon Marine, I didn't really do anything. Yeah, I made it through some tough schools and got to do some cool things like jump, sear, some awesome shooting packages, and a bunch of high speed training. But all of my gun time in combat, where I was actually pulling triggers and slaying dragons, was as a regular 0311 infantryman before I went recon. At the end of it, it's all about timing. Look, I respect everyone that served. Doesn't matter if you're a cook or a commando, you've got my respect. You signed up to serve your country, and that's freaking awesome. And mad respect if you signed up during a time of war, because at the end of the day, no matter what job you did, there's always that chance. It's like that meme of the cow. Your chances of getting killed by a cow are low, but never zero. I personally think that no matter what you did, everyone that served should be proud of that service. Unfortunately, there are some veterans that lie about it, even some that had some super awesome careers and did some super high speed stuff. I think there are layers to why vets lie in stolen valor situations. So I'm going to try to unpeel it for you. First, there's a desire for recognition or status. It's not like it was for the Vietnam vets. Times have changed. Rambo clip.
I want what they want. And every other guy who came over here and spilt his guts and gave everything he had once for our country to love us as much as we love it. That's what I want.
Especially GWAT vets, we get a ton of respect. Even if people disagreed with the wars, everyone supports the troops. Most vets don't get to do cool guy jobs or experience combat, and that leads some veterans to seem to want to exaggerate their service or to either get respect or acknowledgement that they think they deserve, or they just want to be part of the group. And I get it. I'm sure I've embellished as well. Like things like that fish I caught was huge, but there's a fine line between embellishing, exaggerating, and straight up lying. A guy I served with, Rick Zappella, who's a straight up war hero. Dude got a Bronze Star with V for Valor. I did some super heroic stuff in a raid gone bad. We were talking, and he said something that always stuck with me when we were talking about the day that he earned the Bronze Star. He said, dude, if you had been in the same spot, you would have done the same thing. Any Marine would have. It's all luck, chance, circumstance. And hearing that was kind of like mind blowing, because it really is. The chances of seeing combat are super low. The percentage of people that actually fought, not just deployed, but fought, pulled triggers in Iraq and Afghanistan is super small. I know legit operators that are some of the most elite and highly trained people in the world that have never been in a gunfight. Even operators that deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. It's not all combat, it's luck, chance, circumstance. I also have met some pogues that have done a lot more than I ever did, especially now that the heyday of GWAT is like long over. I met recon guys, SEALs, Green Berets, a lot of basic infantry dudes that deployed, but were never in a gunfight. Just a couple months ago, I met up with a Marine buddy that I served with that has a Purple Heart, been in multiple gunfights, but he was always either in the back of a vehicle or just in a spot where he never had a chance to engage any targets. So he never actually fired his weapon in combat. He's a combat vet for sure, but he feels left out. He was talking about how he just wished he'd had that chance to pull triggers. And I know that might sound crazy, but if you served in the military and you chose a job like infantry, you want to fight. You want to prove yourself. You want to fit that mold of a combat vet, which leads me to the second big reason why I think vets lie: imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is real, like super real. I think I did a lot while I was in. I fought in the first Battle of Fallujah, I fought in Operation Silk Curtain, and took part in a bunch of other large operations. I actually pulled triggers in combat, even became a Recon Marine, did all this high speed stuff, but I still feel like I didn't do enough in GWAT because there's always someone that did a lot more. I served with some straight legends. I was there, but I don't compare to those dudes. I didn't earn any crazy valor awards. And I think a lot of vets think this way, And I think this causes some vets to exaggerate their achievements or just straight up fabricate stuff for validation. The next big reason why I think vets lie are just emotional or psychological factors. A lot of us set a bar super high at a super young age. For example, I deployed to Iraq when I was 18. Most people that I served with were near my age. Look, I know there are a lot of vets that say, don't let your service define you and you've got so much more to accomplish or whatever. And I agree. But I'm fairly confident that no matter what I do in life, how successful I am or whatever I accomplish, no one's ever going to write a book about me. But I know I've read books that talk about operations I took part in or places I've been to. Or people that I know. That's a really high bar to set at a young age. It causes what I call the Uncle Rico effect. People start with a small embellishment, and over time, that just grows and morphs into a huge exaggeration, then becomes a straight up lie because it never gets checked. There's no accountability unless vets police ourselves because civilians don't know. So it just goes unchecked. I also think some vets get a hero complex. They want to be seen as someone who's done something awesome or saved a bunch of lives or did this cool stuff. It's probably rooted in some deep desire for admiration or an ongoing need to feel important. People build up this fantasy about the military, and some vets romanticize the idea of being a hero and start to lie to fit that mold. And they lie about awards, things they've done, which is stolen valor. The next big reason I think people lie is cultural influence, especially in special operations or commando type units. Pop culture and media romanticize cool guys, even though the bulk of the fighting in GWOT was done by the infantry. The 0311 and the 11 Bravo are the two most important jobs in the military. Everything else exists to support them, to give the infantry the ability to locate, close with, and destroy the enemy. For some reason, everyone you meet from the military is some kind of Recon Delta Ranger SEAL, which is just not the case. People that served in elite units are actually pretty rare. Then there's the military award system itself. It's all kinds of messed up. I've met dudes that get medals for issuing out gas masks. Then on the other hand, another guy gets a certificate of commendation, basically a piece of paper, for suppressing a machine gun pit in a firefight. It just doesn't make any sense. The Bronze Star is the biggest culprit. Everyone thinks it's a super legit award, but if it doesn't have a V device for valor, I think it's kind of pointless. For instance, a Marine Raider I know posted on LinkedIn a pic of his Bronze Star with V with a comment like, it's one of his best achievements or something like that. And a guy that he worked with, also a vet, responded with something to the effect of, a Bronze Star doesn't matter, my Bronze Star doesn't compare to my kids. And although family will always matter more, there's a big difference between a Bronze Star that's given to an Army IT officer and a Bronze Star with V that's given to an enlisted Marine Raider. It definitely matters. The standard for awards is not the same. And I think the messed up award system often causes some folks to lie about awards that they've earned because you can't really compare the totality of the situation. Vets just want to belong. And the last big reason that I think some vets lie about their service is a desire for personal gain. I'm pretty confident everybody hates these people. They're straight up taking advantage of people's generosity and kindness, taking advantage of benefits to either gain employment or have some kind of financial gain. They're scum. This is fraud. And it's illegal, and they should face the consequences. The hard part is distinguishing between mental health issues and fraudsters. It's always going to be kind of tough to figure that out when it comes to vets. For example, Tim Kennedy. Look, I don't know him. I met him once while he was still in the UFC. A recon buddy of mine, Rudy Reyes, brought me along to go watch a UFC fight with him at some sports bar in Austin. He seemed super cool, but what he did was wrong. Straight up. On the flip side, he's probably had a few too many TBIs and he has to have a CTE from the UFC. Although he apologized, the way the apology is worded, I don't know if he's taking full ownership of his actions. So, I don't know. What are your thoughts about Tim Kennedy? Put them in the comments below. I appreciate the time, and whether military, combat, cybersecurity, defense-related content, you're in the right place. Hit that like button. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts, questions, and make sure to subscribe for more. Don't forget to turn on that notification bell so you never miss a new video. Thanks for watching, and stay safe out there.